Hi, I'm Glory St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory. And today we're talking about rest rules. Oh my goodness. I remember studying music theory as a student, and I was so frustrated because I didn't really have the learning tools to really understand all of these rest rules. And today we're going to talk about the whole rest. So does a whole rest fill a whole measure? That's a good question. So the answer, of course, you may think is yes, but the question is, does a whole rest always fill a whole measure? Well, the answer is no. Today, we're going to find out why these little rest rules are so important. So in the Ultimate Music Theory Basic Rudiments Workbook, you are going to see and understand how all of these rest rules go together. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So if you have your Ultimate Music Theory Basic Rudiments Workbook ready, then I invite you to jump in and do this workbook with me. So if you don't have it, you can grab your copy. And of course, these rest rules are really, really important. One of the other things that we're going to do when we're learning about rest rules today is that we also have the Ultimate Music Theory Basic Rudiments Answer Book. And one of the important things about that is knowing that even if you're not sure about the answers, you can look them up in the answer book. So just a little bit of a tip for you. So let's do some revealing today. Are you ready? Okay, so does a whole rest fill a whole measure? So I've got my little pencil here. Let's do some checking. In the time signature of 2/4 time, so the basic beat is 2 quarter notes and the pulse is strong, weak. If we want to fill the whole measure, let's do the reveal. Yes, yay! The whole rest fills the whole measure. So we can say check, right? So the next question is, what about if the time signature is 3/8 time? In 3/8 time, there are 3 beats in a measure, and an 8th note equals 1 count. So the pulse is strong, weak, weak. Now the pulse is strong, weak, weak whenever the top number is 3. So here, yay, a whole rest fills the whole measure. Check. Next, we want to take a look at what if the top number is 4? When the top number is 4, the pulse is strong, weak, medium, weak. So here we see that 4 quarter notes equals 1 measure, right? So the pulse for the whole rest is strong, weak, medium, weak, and a whole rest equals 4 counts. Check. So a whole rest can equal 2 beats, or it can equal 3 beats, or it can equal 4 beats, depending on what the top number is and depending on the bottom number. So here 2 quarter notes fill the measure, here 3/8 notes fill the measure, and here 4 quarter notes fill the measure. So what happens when the top number is 2 and the bottom number is 2? Might get a little trickier. Here we see that we have 2 half notes, and the pulse again for 2 is strong, weak. So does a whole rest fill the whole measure in 2/2 time? Yay! Yes, it does. Check. Okay, so now things are going to get a little more complicated. So let's check this out. You might be looking up in your answer book already. So Sola and Tito are going to be here to help us out. So if the time signature is 3/2, what is the pulse? Now the pulse is always based on the top number. So if the top number is 3, the pulse is strong, weak, weak. Okay, we get that. So if the pulse is strong, weak, weak, and the bottom number is 2, it means that we have 3 half notes in each measure. So let's check it out. Does a whole rest fill the whole measure? Well, here we see that we have 3 half notes, strong, weak, weak. So a whole rest fills the whole measure. So I'm going to add the bar line here. So here a whole rest fills the whole measure, correct? Great. Now let's look at the next one. I'll just move my little Sola over here. She'll come sit over here, hang out with us later. So here we see that we have a whole rest, but this time we also see that we have a half note value here. So this time our whole rest receives strong plus weak. So we can put in our pulse, strong plus weak, and it only receives 2 beats because the third beat of weak is a half note. So here, a whole rest does not fill a whole measure. Nope, he doesn't. A whole rest only gets 2 beats when the time signature is 3/2 time, and when there is a half note value, it could be 2 quarter notes, but when there is a half note value on beat 3. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, good. And finally, we see in the last measure that we have strong, weak, weak. So now we know, fantastic, we here have a whole rest that fills a whole measure in 3/2 time. So yet another check mark. Yay. So now the question is, what about in 4/2 time? Okay, let's check this out. My little friends had to come hang out with us today. So now in 4/2 time, does a whole rest fill a whole measure? Go ahead and share that with me. And Sarah Campbell, I want to give a shout out to Sarah. Yes, you are right. Time signatures can be so complex, and it's why actually I started writing the Ultimate Music Theory workbook, because it was confusing. Hey there, Sarah Campbell. It is confusing, and if we can just simplify the rest rules, then learning music theory is easy and we can easily apply these. But sometimes we just need to break it down, not only for our students, but also for ourselves. As a young music student, I wasn't sure about how all of this worked. And as I started to break it down and make it simple, I went, oh, okay, I can do this. And therefore, we started implementing that in writing the Ultimate Music Theory program together with Sheila McKibben-Uren, so we can make things easy for you. So are you ready for the final reveal? So this is the trickiest one of all. In 4/2 time, now remember when the top number is 4, the pulse is strong, weak, medium, weak. So that never changes regardless of the bottom number. The top number is always the pulse. And if the top number is 4, the pulse is strong, weak, medium, weak, right? That's what gives us that sense of music. So let's do the big reveal. If the time signature is 4/2 time, how does that work? Well, this one is different than the 3/2 time rule, in that in 3/2 time, a whole rest does fill a whole measure, but also if there's a half note value on beat 3, then the whole rest only receives 2 beats, strong plus weak. Now in 4/2 time, a whole rest receives 2 beats. So this is strong plus weak, and 2 half note values would be the medium weak. So here I'm going to add my bar line. So here the whole rest does not fill the whole measure. Okay, so it's not filling the whole measure. When we look at the next measure, what do we see? We see that we have a whole rest, so strong, weak. Then we have a whole note, strong, weak. Then we have a whole rest, which is the medium plus weak, right? We put them together, so now we need a bar line. And now at the end, so here a whole rest does not fill the whole measure. And at the end, like, what is that? Did I just go a little crazy with my little marker? No, in fact, that is called a breve rest. And that fills the whole measure in 4/2 time. So that is a very unique rest. It kind of looks like a whole rest that flipped on the side, and it's kind of skinny, and it goes in at the middle of the measure and fills the whole measure. So a breve rest fills a whole measure in 4/2 time. So what was the thought process here? Does a whole rest always fill a whole measure? No, it does not. A whole rest fills a whole measure in simple time when we have 2/4 or 3/8 or 4/4 time. And it also fills the whole measure in 2/2 time. But when you're thinking about 3/2 time and 4/2 time, A whole rest may fill a whole measure if there is nothing else in the measure. A whole rest receives 2 beats if there is a half note value, could be 2 quarter notes or whatever, on the first 2, and it would receive again the whole one. Now I'm going to add one more little thing that's a little tricky in here. We're really talking about the whole rest and does it fill a whole measure? But I'm going to share one more little tip with you. Are you up for that? Give me a thumbs up if you want one more little clue in the confusing world of the whole rest. So here it is. So here you see the whole rest. Hopefully the board's not too shiny and you're doing okay. A whole rest fills a whole measure. A whole rest receives 2 beats when there's a half note value at the end. Now, a lot of what I'm sharing with you, we actually delve a lot deeper into how to teach this, how to explain all this in the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. And so you're welcome to jump in and learn more. If you're a teacher and you want to learn more about how to teach all these complex concepts, I share a lot of secrets with you in the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. So you can click learn more to get a little more information about that. If you are a musician or a teacher or a student and you just want to delve into all of these rest rules, I'll invite you to click on the Basic Rudiments workbook and the Basic Rudiments answer book, because they're going to give you all those little tips and tricks and all the rest rules that can seem so complicated. We make them easy for you. So go ahead and click on the Ultimate Music Theory workbook and answer book, because they'll fill you in on all those secrets. So now I want to give you one more little tip, and that is this. Hope you can see my board. I'll use my little Ultimate Music Theory eraser. The Ultimate Music Theory whiteboards are so amazing. I can't actually teach without them. If you haven't checked them out, this is a must-have for your teaching studio, because not only do we have the large teacher board, but we also have the small student board. So you might want to check that out. All right, so final tip. Are you ready for this one? This is big money here. When we see 3/2 time, a whole rest fills a whole measure. A whole rest gets 2 beats if there is a half note value on beat 3. But here's the tricky part. If you have, I'll just erase this little guy here. I think I have another marker here. If you have a, and here we're going to have our 3 little beats. So if you have a half note value on beat 1, and remember, this is 1, 2, 3, and our pulse here is strong, weak, weak. So if you have a half note value on beat 1, you cannot use a whole rest to fill this, because this is weak tilde. I use the tilde sign, which means to not connect. So weak tilde weak. So here, in fact, you need to add in 2 separate half rests. Okay, so we always want to make sure that we're following all of our rest rules. So this one would be a little different, because here the whole rest is not even involved. So I hope you enjoyed our little Theory Tuesday lesson today. I love teaching theory. I love sharing the rules of music theory. And actually, Tito is an avid Tito tip guy. When you're using our Ultimate Music Theory workbooks and the Ultimate Music Theory games and the Ultimate Music Theory ABC series and our supplemental workbook series, you're going to see Sola Says, because she kind of helps you learn as you go. There's my little Sola. She's looking real spiffy today. And you're also going to learn about the Tito tips, because he loves the rules of music theory, and Sola loves to teach and help you understand music theory. So thanks for joining me today. And does a whole rest fill a whole measure? And the answer is not always, right? So take care. Make sure you get your Basic Rudiments workbook, and I will see you next time. Oh, by the way, we've got a special guest coming up in our Ultimate Music Facebook Live interviews this Friday. So stay tuned for details so you don't miss that one. And if you're not already a member of our Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group, make sure to sign up, because we've got some great teaching tips, and it's a wonderful community of like-minded musicians and educators, and we invite you to join us. Have a musical day, and as always, teach with passion. Thanks, Sola. You guys were great today.